Rothenberg back with me, our political analyst here. Let's start with John Kerry and show us where he is gaining votes so far.
Well, let's remember, Bill, first, that George Bush won Ohio by 167,000 votes 4 years ago. So John Kerry needs to do better. He needs to make up that 167,000 votes. And let's look at the map where he may be doing it, where we thought he needed to. Montgomery County, Franklin County, that's Columbus, Stark County, Lorain, and Cuyahoga. They're all blue. We've been looking at them as places that John Kerry can improve, and he is improving. He's improving, but only marginally. And the question is whether he can eat into that 167,000 vote deficit. At the moment, it looks kind of difficult. In Cuyahoga, he is winning. He's up by about 147,000 with 3/4 of the vote in Cuyahoga. He'll do better than he did 4 years ago, but is he going to get enough of a vote to eat into the Bush
he
margin?
May not do better than Al Gore won that county by 160,000 votes. So he's just below that number.
But he should do better in the raw vote when all the votes are in. There's still a quarter.
Here's the thing we're seeing, though. That's in the northeastern part of the state. Democrats are strong. But Republicans are strong in the southwestern part of the state, down around Cincinnati and Hamilton County. The word is that the polling lines were so long at closing time tonight in the city and in the suburbs, they continue to vote. And because of that, the tally has been delayed somewhat.
That's right. So in these areas we've talked about, John Kerry is doing better, but only slightly. Now the focus is on Hamilton and Cincinnati. The vote has been very slow. The Bush margin was non-existent for a while. Now George Bush is opening up a lead there. More votes are coming in. So when you put all this together, it starts to look more difficult for John Kerry.
Stu and Bill, I'm going to interrupt you for a moment because we're ready to make another projection. Let me walk over to the CNN projection screen over here. We're ready to project that John Kerry will carry the state of Oregon and its 7 electoral votes. A win for John Kerry in the Pacific Northwest. That would be Oregon, 7 electoral votes, a state that went for Al Gore the last time. It remains in the Democratic column. This time we'll tally up the new electoral college numbers and include Oregon now projected a win for Oregon. I interrupted Stu Rothenberg and Bill Hemmer. Let's go back to them and let them finish up on what's happening. And right now it's shaping up to be a critically important state for both of these candidates. That would be Ohio. Bill?
Yeah, essentially we're trying to find out where each man gets their votes right now. How does George Bush hang on to his lead, and how does John Kerry cut into that? Interestingly, on Halloween night, George Bush drew 47,000 people in Hamilton County.
Down here in the
on Monday night, John Kerry was in Cleveland with Bruce Springsteen. They got upwards of 40, maybe 50,000 at a rally there. The question is now, if you make up the difference for John Kerry, in all likelihood, you're going to have to go to the northeastern part of the state to get those votes.
Right. This is one state, but is really 2 or 3 states, and it's difficult to see how John Kerry can make up this 167,000 vote deficit that he had last time. He's doing better in some areas when he needs to, but can he actually overcome that deficit?
We have a few more maps we can show. Possibly if you pull up the gain by county for George Bush. Explain this to our viewers between the red and the really dark red.
Well, it's almost self-explanatory. The dark red is the Bush gain over 4 years ago. The light red or pinkish is a loss. Let's remember right now the president is underperforming in Hamilton County, but that vote has been slow to come in, and his percentage is starting to increase. But if you look at much of the state, you can see that George W. Bush is increasing his showing throughout much of central rural Ohio. Again, when you look at individual counties and the votes that have come in there and the vote totals, the raw vote as well as the percentage, it's not surprising that the Bush people are starting to be rather optimistic.
We have said for months now that the battle for this election, this White House, could lie in the state of Ohio. It appears to be shaping up that way. There are a number of different scenarios still out there across the country that will unfold as we go later into the evening hours.
Right, and John Kerry needs more votes out of Cuyahoga County, and he needs to do better in Hamilton County than expected.
All right, Wolf will continue to watch it for you. 20 electoral votes on the line back in the Buckeye State. Back to you now at the NASDAQ.
All right, thanks very much. Let's bring in our Dan Lothian. He's in Columbus, Ohio. He's watching all of this from the state capital of Ohio. Dan, what are you hearing?
Well, Wolf, what's interesting is that after all this time, there's still one area in Knox County, which is about an hour from here, where they are still voting. They expect that that will take place for at least the next 20 minutes or so. As you know, the polls did close at 7:30, but everyone who is in line will be able to vote. We were told by some officials there that someone brought out pizza and some drinks for the folks in line just to make sure that they stayed happy and that they did stay in line. They didn't want any of those folks to leave, so they are still waiting, have another 20 minutes or so expected in that area until all the votes are finished.
Anybody complaining, based on what you're hearing, about voting irregularities? Any question marks out there, Dan?
You know, Wolf, that's probably the most interesting conclusion, I guess, of the entire campaign here in Ohio. All along, we were talking about all the potential irregularities, about possibility of fraud, about all of these challenges that might be taking place. And after all was said and done, we were told by both Republicans and Democrats that there weren't any challenges that took place inside of these polling places. So there was a lot of buildup. There were a lot of lawsuits being filed right down to the last minute, but no major problems that we have heard of.
Do we know how many provisional ballots were cast in Ohio? Because they're going to be challenged and they're going to be reviewed after this formal vote goes on.
You know, that's correct, and we were inquiring about that just a few minutes ago. We were told that perhaps in the next 45 minutes or so we'll be able to get a more accurate number as to those provisional ballots, but don't have that accurate number at this point. All
right, Dan Lothian, thanks very much. Let me show our viewers what the actual voting in the raw numbers in Ohio is right now, and I'll walk over here. Right now, with 83% of the precincts in Ohio, the president, we had the president at 52% to 48% for John Kerry. Ed Henry is in Washington watching a key Senate race for us. Ed, what do you know?
That's right, Wolf. This nail-biter in South Dakota getting ever more focus all evening, in fact, and I'm now talking to people in John Thune's campaign. He's the Republican running against the Senate Democratic leader Tom Daschle. Thune's camp, his top aide Dick Wadhams, now telling CNN they think the lead is now increasing for John Thune to about 5,000 votes, and that the precincts that are outstanding are mostly in the western part of the state. That's a Republican stronghold. Thune thinks that now the lead could increase even more. Dick Wadhams telling me, quote, "It's starting to look like the math adds up for us." He said that obviously they're not claiming victory yet, but he added, quote, "I'd rather be us than them." I talked then to Dan Pfeiffer in the Daschle campaign. He admitted it's uphill. Obviously right now Daschle looks like he's behind a little bit, but Dan Pfeiffer stressed that if you think back to 2 years ago, John Thune ran for the Senate in South Dakota, and according to Pfeiffer, the champagne bottles were being popped a little early by the Thune camp. Thune ended up losing by about 500 votes. Also worth noting, Tom Daschle in 1978 in his first House race only won by about 110 votes after a recount. He's been down this road before, but I talked to a second source in the Daschle camp who told me that the mood is not very good right now. There, in Democratic circles, a lot of pessimism about the way the numbers are starting to turn in South Dakota. As we mentioned earlier, a Senate leader has not lost re-election since 1952, Wolf.
And Henry, yes, I'm going to show our viewers the actual numbers that we have in South Dakota for this tight Senate race. John Thune with, what, 51% of the vote, about 141,000. And the Senate Minority Leader Tom Daschle, the incumbent, 138,584, 49%. 80% of the precincts reporting, 20% still at large. Let's walk over and check in with our analyst, Jeff Greenfield, who's itching to tell our viewers something.
I am. One of the things that happened to Tom Daschle was that he and his wife, Linda, bought a house in Washington, and to save some money on the taxes, they had to apply for a homestead exemption, which meant that he had to declare that he was a resident of Washington, D.C. This does not sit well with the home folks in a state like South Dakota. It means you've, quote, gone Washington. And unlike some of you gentlemen who are allowed to live in Washington, politicians are not supposed to not live in the home where they are. And one of the things that happens to a leader in Congress is when the people back home think they've lost touch. Now, Tom Daschle has gone home as often as humanly possible, but that was one of those issues that could have hurt him.
Do other senators and House members do the same thing? File for
All I know is it was a big deal in South Dakota.
South Dakota is an unusual place. It's a place that votes Republican on the presidential level almost religiously, but interestingly enough, one of only 4 states, Hawaii and Massachusetts being among the others, that actually have an all-Democratic congressional delegation.
North Dakota.
North Dakota, too. And what's interesting here as well is that while Tom Daschle seems to be losing, the woman who is currently the incumbent lone member of Congress there seems to be winning. So a kind of disparity in the 2 Democratic candidates.
The Dakotas, a lovely place to visit.
Quickly, last time a Republican president and a Republican Congress were re-elected together, William McKinley, 1900. Might happen again tonight. Might.
All right, we'll see what happens.
Looks strong.
Stand by, guys. We're going to take another quick break, but we have so much more coverage coming up. We're still waiting to find out who's going to be the next president of the United States. It's a minor thing, but we'll try to find out in the next few hours. Maybe, maybe not. Stay with us.
Coverage of America Votes 2004 is sponsored by Samsung. Excellence is within everything we create. Samsung Electronics. Log on to CNN.com/election for up-to-the-minute analysis of the election and its outcome.